This is question number 1 from the 2.7 Part 2 MyLab math homework about using StatCrunch. And in this question, we're given 2 sets of data. We're given data about full-time students and data about part-time students. And we're told that a college student asked students who had full-time jobs and students who had part-time jobs how many times they went out to eat in the last month. Then we're being asked to briefly compare the distributions. That's the shape of the data when we graph it. So briefly compare the distributions of the responses in the 2 groups and include appropriate graphics. So first of all, before you ever graph data, you got to ask yourself what kind of data was collected. Is it categorical or is it numerical? When the people in the survey were asked the question, did they give words back? Or did they give numbers? So what question were they asked? They were asked, how many times did you eat out in the last month? So if I ask you that question, you answer with a number. For example, in this first row here, the first row of data represents full-time students. The very first student answered 5. So that first student right there went out to eat 5 times last month. And then the next student answered 3. They gave a number. It's numerical data. They went out to eat 3 times that month and so on. So when you have numerical data, in this class we graph it 2 different ways. You can graph it as a dot plot or as a histogram. And I can see here we're being asked to create a dot plot first. Okay, so I'm just going to click on one of these answer choices just so we can kind of see what our dot plots look like. But we're going to use StatCrunch to create these dot plots. Now, StatCrunch is built into this question. If you see these 2 little boxes here, you can click those boxes and it'll ask you, what do you want to do with the data? Do you want to open in StatCrunch on a clipboard or in Excel? And of course, we want to use StatCrunch, so I'm going to click Open in StatCrunch. And it's going to automatically import that data into StatCrunch. Okay, so my first column here are my full-time student responses, and the second column is part-time. Then I'm going to hover my mouse over Graph and come down to dot plot because we were being asked to create a dot plot first. So I'm going to click dot plot. I want to create both of them at the same time. If I click back over here on this answer choice, see how both dot plots were stacked on top of each other? So if I want to do that, then I need to come over here and click the full-timers and see how that put the word full-time into that white box. But I'll hold my shift key down on my keyboard and click part-time, and now they're both highlighted and they both appear in that box. So that means I'm going to graph both sets of data simultaneously and compare them. Okay, so there's not too much I need to do to customize my dot plots here. I'm going to come down to the labeling. Okay, your x-axis label, that is your horizontal label. Your horizontal label is always representing the numerical data you collected. So what question was asked and what data was collected, always think back to that. They asked, how many times did you go out to eat in the last month? People answered with a number. So that x-axis, that number line, that horizontal number line is going to represent the number of times they went out to eat. So number of times student went out to eat last month. Okay, and then the y-axis, the height of the stack of dots is just going to tell us the number of students in that gave that response, and the generic word for that is frequency. Frequency is how many times that occurred. So we're going to label that there, and we can put a title if we want. I'm not going to for right now. But very important, since we're comparing 2 sets of data, I have to use the same x-axis. You have to click this box. So you're comparing the data on the same axes there. So I'm going to click that, and then all I have to do is click Compute down here, and it's created my dot plots. And then I'm going to go click through every single answer choice and see which answer choice best matches the dot plots here. So let's take a look. So they have part-time on the top and full-time on the bottom. I can see my part-time is maybe slightly skewed. Ooh, that turned pink. That's cool. Is maybe slightly skewed to the right, where my full-time data is more skewed to the left. So let's go click through our answer choices here. I'll move this over here so maybe I can see it at the same time. Okay, part-time, no, down on this one, oh, they flip-flopped our dot plots, but that's okay. Here on the bottom, I see it's the part-time that was really skewed to the left, so that wasn't correct. So going to A, Now my full-time is skewed to the left. Part-time was slightly skewed to the right. I think that might be the right answer, but let's keep clicking through. Part-time skewed to the right, full-time, see how that's not quite matching up? If I come back over here, the full-time graph isn't quite looking like my other one. I'll bring it back up here. See how my full-time graph gradually got taller stacks of dots there? And then this answer choice for B, no, I went from 2 to 1 to 4 back down to 3. Nope, that's not it. And then the last one, no, that's definitely the full-time is not left skewed. Okay, so it had to be A. So I'll go ahead and click A. Come back over here. Oops, click A. How do I check that? Oh, check answer down here at the bottom. Can't really see that, but check answer at the bottom. Yay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so I guess I have to close all these answer choices. Okay, now we're supposed to examine the shape. So what is the shape of the data for those with part-time jobs? So I'm just going to come back and click on these. For part-time jobs, it was slightly skewed to the right. There was a little tiny, maybe a little bit of a tail there skewed to the right. So let's read our answer choices. The shape of the data for those with part-time jobs is skewed right. That sounds good. But I'm not going to I'm going to read them all. The shape of the data was skewed left. No. The shape of the data with part-time jobs is a symmetric bell shape. No. And the shape of the data cannot be determined. I'm going to go out of those answer choices. I'm going to go right skewed there. So let me check the answer. Yay, cool. Okay, the next one says, what are the shape of the data for full-time jobs? Well, that's definitely skewed to the left. I can see that the tail is going off to the left there. So that's definitely going to be skewed left. So that looks like answer choice C. Okay. And then examining the center. Remember, the center is like that balance point if this was a teeter-totter, and it's describing the typical response in this set of data. So it's asking us which group tends to eat out more often, those were with full-time jobs or part-time jobs? Well, definitely with the full-time jobs, because I can see the higher stacks of dots. Each dot is representing a student, and the location of that dot is representing how many times they went out to eat last month. So there's definitely higher stacks on the full-time students above those responses like 5, 6, 7. So the higher responses, they're higher stacks there. So that would be definitely full-time. So those with full-time jobs eat about the same. Nope. Those with part-time jobs eat out more. Nope. Those with full-time jobs tend to go out to eat more than part-time. Yes. Okay. And, oh, there's more to go. The next one's talking about the spread of the data. So is the data clumped really tightly together? Is it spread out? Is there more variation or more variety in the responses? And that's why it's another important, that's why it was also important to use the same x-axis. So we're comparing, apples to apples. The spread can be compared from full-time to part-time because they're graphed over the same x-axis there. So it looks like there's more variety in this full-time data. There's more variation in this full-time data there. So let's see. Full-time workers have the same spread. No. Neither group has a wider spread since neither of them have outliers. No. The full-time workers have a wider spread since the dot plot for full-time workers is more spread out than the dot plot for part-time. That sounds good. Let's try that. There we go. And there, that finished the question. Okay, so we will be using StatCrunch throughout this section to help us visualize data with graphs. And then we're also going to be using it later on to help us crunch some numbers, to do some calculations. So make sure you get comfortable with working with StatCrunch in this section.